Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on last week's show, How to Raise Funding for Startups, informative. If you were unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as multiple favorite podcast platforms. If there are questions you have or topics you'd like us to share, please reach out to us at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Steve Gavatorta, owner of the Steve Gavatorta Group, specializes in empowering individuals and organizations in identifying, developing, and exceeding performance goals. Steve has had the privilege of coaching and training thousands of high performers across an array of industries. From small businesses on the move to Fortune 500 companies, Steve collaborates with organizations to build foundations, set goals, and eclipse their highest potential. Steve is a Certified Professional Behavior Analyst, CPBA, and Certified Professional Values Analyst, CPVA, a certified Myers-Briggs practitioner, and accredited to coach and train for emotional intelligence, EQ. He's a two-time published author, and his new book, In Defense of Adversity, Turning Your Toughest Challenges into Your Greatest Success, won Richter Publishing's Amazon's Bestseller Award for 2018. Steve currently resides in Tampa. So, Steve, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I think we've done several so far, and they've hopefully your audience has gained a lot of good insights. And I think the topic today will be another good one as well. So,
for sure. For those who haven't maybe heard the prior episodes, so why don't you give us just a little bit of your background again and how you even got into doing what you're doing now?
Yeah, I've owned my business, Steve Gavatorta Group, for it's been 18 years. I can't believe it. I keep asking myself, when am I going to get to, do what I want to do? And it's been 18 years already. But basically, just as you said, I work closely with my customers, individuals, entrepreneurs, small businesses, big Fortune 500 companies, and really help them understand their business, understand their professional and business development needs, and then build specific modules to meet those needs. It can include a workshop, coaching, consulting, assessments, 360 feedback, or a combination of all those three, or all those 4 or 5, actually. Again, all dependent upon that customer's specific needs. Prior to that, I spent over 21 years in corporate America in various sales, leadership, managerial roles, category management, loyalty marketing, training, development, some in marketing, some in sales, liaison between sales and marketing. So in my corporate life, I really ran the gamut of a lot of different responsibilities, and that has bode well for me in this business today because, I've kind of walked the walk, so to speak. I don't just talk the talk. Right. I've been there, I've done it, I felt it. And a lot of what I do is building specific programs. It's not generic things, but it's really some developmental programs that can align to really helping companies grow their business and individuals succeed in accomplishing their goals as well, too. And as you said, I'm a two-time published author as well. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, on today's topic, we're going to talk about ACT, Align, Communicate, Teamwork. So tell us a little bit more about the workshop and why is it that you're able to use that with so many clients?
Yeah, I think it's always been an important topic, but I think especially now, I say we are in a fast-paced, high-tech, ever-evolving world. Change is hitting us faster than ever. Adversity striking us deeper, and the speed at which we need to make decisions is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's only going to get more pronounced as technology advances, we're moving quicker in this world. So even despite this whole COVID and craziness, this is the new norm. I hate that phrase, but this is the new norm. So individuals and companies need to have a solid foundation for decision-making, for dealing with this change, for finding ways to align to their customer, to have their organizations function as one well-oiled machine instead of disparate departments working, not knowing what they're doing, why they're doing what they're doing, and how what they're doing is feeding up to the overarching vision, mission, values of a company, their corporate objectives, and helping grow that business. So ACT, Align Communication and Teamwork, is a program that I do is in establishing what are we aligned on? What is our vision, mission, values? What are our strategic objectives? And how does every department fit into the vision, mission, values, and these strategic objectives? Each department needs to feel ownership in this. And then how do we work as a team, and how do we communicate so we're all on one playing from one sheet of music, heading up towards the same goals? Because in these crazy times, we can't afford to not be functioning as a well-oiled machine. We can't afford to, have different departments not know why they're doing what they're doing, or fight each other, or be on different pages, because that's where problems arise. That's where we're not meeting our objectives. We don't know why we're doing what we're doing. And we may have high turnover, and there is a huge cost associated with turnover. And in these crazy times when margins are tight, growth opportunities may be limited, our cash flows, there may be issues in cash flow. These things are more important now than ever, in my opinion. And this workshop helps build that foundation, so to speak.
Right. And people have heard lots of these kind of terms before, but in case somebody is like, I'm confused on the difference between vision and mission, or how do the values work into all of that, why don't you just give a definition of each of those terms so people understand exactly what you're talking about? Yeah,
and I'll pull some stuff I do at my workshop. A vision statement, that's a great question. A vision statement defines the company direction. It's the destination. It describes where the company is going, and it focuses more on the future, tomorrow, what's down the pike. The difference in the mission statement is mission statement defines the core purpose of the company. It describes what the company does, why they exist, and it focuses more on today. Just to give you a definition of the two, I think a company that I think is totally aligned in their vision, mission, values from the top all the way down would be Southwest Airlines. Their vision statement is to become the world's most beloved, most flown, and most profitable airline. And their mission is to every day be dedicated towards the highest quality of customer service, delivered with a sense of warmth, friendliness, individual pride, and company spirit. And I will go out of my way to fly Southwest. They are typically a decent priced airlines, but not always the lowest. But everywhere, when you're dealing with the gate attendants, when you're dealing with one of the people on the phone, when you're dealing with the baggage carriers, the flight attendants, the pilots, they're all happy. They all are in a good spirit. They joke around. I've heard some of the funniest, can't stop laughing things from a pilot, what a pilot said, or a stewardess said, just a little joke or something, self-deprecating humor that makes me want to fly them. So that's a good example of a company that has a very powerful vision, mission statement, and all their colleagues, all their departments, all their different roles and responsibilities responsible for growing that company all understand that clearly, and it manifests in their behavior when you fly. It's just a good vibe. Some of the other airlines, you get the outright feeling that they really don't care about you. The attitudes are bad. They don't seem to care. Their flights aren't on time. There's no apologies. Your luggage gets lost. Your flights get delayed. And that makes me not want to fly them. Because Southwest is very much aligned in their vision, mission, values, and it is exhibited in their employees' behaviors, I am more willing. I'm a loyal customer to them. I will spend a little bit more money to go find a South. That's who I look for first. If there's some nuances about, can I get there at the right time, or is there a direct flight? If there's not, I may look secondarily at another airline, but Southwest is my first choice, hands down, because they have created a loyal customer in me, because they don't just talk the talk about their vision, mission, values. It funnels down to their employees, and they walk the walk too.
So if there is, this ACT that you talked about, align, communicate, teamwork. We kind of understand what those words are too, but how do they work together for you to present this information to the businesses?
Yeah, first and foremost, you have to be aligned. And, you know, most companies, well, depending on the size, some don't have vision, mission, value statements. That's the first thing I'd recommend any organization do, is clearly define vision, mission, values, and make sure and have them posted, make sure everyone knows them, but not just write them down and knows them, actually eat, drink, and sleep them, live them, make sure every department understands how they fit into those vision, mission, values. Typically, sales and marketing departments feel closest to the vision, mission, values, or strategic objectives, because you can see the easy influence on that, you know, driving sales, marketing, reaching consumers. They feel closest ownership to vision, mission, values, whereas IT, finance, engineering, EHS, they may not feel as close because they don't feel as close to the customer. However, all these departments are equally important to driving top line sales, profitability, and growth. They just don't feel the connection there. So the first shot across the bow is to drive, you know, make sure you have a strong vision, mission, values, and everyone knows them. Then everyone functions as a team working towards those vision, mission, values, and those strategic objectives, and ensuring we're all communicating in a manner that drives to those things. Oftentimes, you may have sales and finance in combat, and they're going here because sales wants to drive sales, finance wants to do things maybe more profitably. They both have to be reminded, instead of fighting, what role they play in driving that vision, mission, values, and those strategic objectives. They both play a role in it, and they both need to understand that, communicate that, and function as a well-oiled machine. Instead of sales going finance, there they are, being the number, bean counters again. You know, and finance saying, there's the irresponsible salespeople just giving away the farm. You know, they both realize their role they play in the vision, mission, values, the strategic objectives, and hence they should be communicating that and functioning more as a well-oiled machine. The sales team has to realize, I just can't ask for money or spend money frivolously. I have to get bang for the buck on this spend. And the finance team has to realize, maybe I understand why they're taking this risk, and we think we can get market share growth with this investment. Once that all is understood, we're on the same team, we're all communicating towards the same, working towards the same goals, then things should be smoother. I'm not saying creating a vision, mission, values, and gaining alignment on strategic objectives is going to always happen in a utopian manner. It's always smooth, but we should make it more, you know, smoother 90% of the time than only smooth 10% of the time. And that's what a good vision, mission, values does. And that's what strong strategic objectives does. And every department aligning to that, acting as a well-oiled machine, working together and communicating effectively as well too. Does that make sense?
Right. So obviously it's important to have a strong, you know, mission and vision and value statements. And let's say, obviously, if someone doesn't even have one, we know they need to create one. But if someone has one, how do they know, is it really strong, or is it something that maybe needs to be tweaked so that it works better for the company?
Yeah, I think the main thing that a company needs to do when they create a vision, mission, values is truly understand why they are in business, number one. And through their vision, especially their vision statement, how is what they're doing going to create a point of differentiation versus their competition? So the alignment, is this truly what we're trying to do in our product or service? And have we created a point of differentiation through this vision, mission statement? I'll give you one. It's not, I don't believe it is their vision statement directly, but Harley-Davidson executive stated this, and this speaks to something bigger than selling a commodity. It not only speaks to a vision, but it speaks to creating a point of differentiation as well too. When someone asked a Harley-Davidson executive, what do they sell? The response was, what we sell is the ability for a 43-year-old accountant to dress up in black leather, drive through small towns and scare people. So it's hilarious, but it's really powerful in that you realize what they're doing with this. They've clearly understood what they're in business for. They don't sell motorcycles. Mm-hmm. They sell a lifestyle. They sell experience. They sell fun. They sell the ability for someone to do something wild who's not, naturally a wild hare. So not only have they put a vision out there of what they do, but they've uncoupled themselves from a commodity. Harley, Hondas and Kawasaki's can sell motorcycle. We sell something bigger, a lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And with that lifestyle, they're able to sell their product at a more premium rate. They have a bunch of accessories that you can buy that help grow their business, like jackets, boots, all kinds of paraphernalia. So through their vision statement, they have identified clearly what they do. Yes, they produce motorcycles, but that motorcycle is something bigger. It's to create a lifestyle. And they've also uncoupled themselves. So they've clearly defined what they're about, and they've created a point of differentiation for themselves too. So I think those are the two things. Know what you're in business for, number one. You're not selling motorcycles, you're selling an experience. You're not selling a mattress, you're selling health, great sleep, comfort, a good lifestyle. You're not selling certain things. You're not selling the widget. You're selling something greater than that. And that's what a strong vision statement does. And it also, once again, uncouples yourself from your competition. I think those are the two main things.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you discussed 3 strategic overarching objectives of any business. So what are they and why are they so important?
Yeah, I tell people, a lot of the companies I work for, they sell widgets, toothpaste or hand tools, or some of them sell services. Some of them sell drugs, pharmaceuticals, things of that nature. So I tell people, any company, Steve Gavatorta Group, Affordable Bookkeeping, Stanley Black & Decker, Disney, Harley Davidson is in business for 3 reasons. Now, excluding where you are in your vision, mission, values. But any business wants to do 3 things. 1, drive top line sales and cash flow. Number 2 is be profitable. And number 3 is to have some sort of growth mechanism. Is it to grow my market share? Is it to bring in new customers? Is it to get our current customers to spend more money? Some sort of growth or incrementality objective. These are 3 things any company wants. Steve Gavatorta, I want to drive top lines and sales and cash flow, because if I don't have cash flow, guess what? I can't pay myself. I can't pay my employees. I can't pay my bills. I can't invest in growth. That's number 1. That's the lifeblood. Number 2 is I want to, or any business wants to keep as much of that as they can. That's the profit side. But every year I want to grow my business. I want to either grow my business within my current client base, reach out to other departments in a certain customer, add on new capabilities to my current business, but I also want to reach out to more new customers who I've not dealt with, maybe in an industry that's related. So any company needs to clearly, whether they're your intact company, you need to help your employees understand how they fit into driving top line sales, cash flow, and profitability and market share growth. Going back to what I said before, it's easy for a salesperson to realize how he or she drives top line sales, profitability, and incrementality. But IT may not see that. Finance may not see that. But if you look at IT, maybe creating a CRM system that frees up the time of a salesperson, that is influencing sales. Because now you're making them more efficient. They're not playing around on a computer. They're able, through this software that we created, go out and sell more. Or it can help drive efficiencies and profitability. So IT plays a role potentially in top line sales growth and cash and sales. Right. So, and that's part of ACT, gaining that alignment around our vision, mission, values, gaining alignment on these 3 strategic objectives, in each department understanding the role they play in doing these things. And once you could connect those dots, then the teams understand why they do what they do, and they feel ownership in it. They're all spokes in the wheel. A department I've worked with occasionally is EHS, Environmental Health and Safety. You know, and they're way down the ladder in feeling that connection because they're just responsible for workplace safety, warehouse safety. But once again, just think about it. If they're creating a product in a manufacturing plant and there's safety issues and it shuts down production, I think that's going to affect sales, right?
Right.
You know, that then in turn affects profitability. So EHS owns those 3 strategic objectives as well, too. So that's where all these departments play into this, not only vision, mission, values, but these strategic objectives. From the customer looking outwards to salesperson looking out to their customers. I always tell people, you do not sell widgets. You sell the ability to help your stores drive top line sales profitability and cash flow. One of my customers is Stanley Black & Decker. They manufacture drills, saws, hammers, nails. But I always tell them, you don't sell drills, saws, hammers, nails, and those things. You sell the ability for Home Depot and Lowe's to grow top line sales profitability and incrementality. 2 years ago, Home Depot in Canada, one of their corporate objectives was something called grow attachment rate by $2 per transaction. That would be out of those 3 strategic objectives, that would be the growth objective. What that meant was every time a consumer went through the register at a Home Depot, let's hypothetically say it's me, I spend $20 typically. They want me to spend now $22, increase that attachment rate by $2. So what we talked about with Stanley Black & Decker was helping their salespeople realize, if I know this is a growth objective at Home Depot and Lowe's, look for opportunities to drive add-on sales that help Home Depot meet their objective, $2 per attachment per transaction, because that not only helps Home Depot, but that helps Stanley too, because you're going to increase your sales. So instead of selling a saw promotion, you may add on saw blades, because the saw, big number saw, high ticket saw item drives top line sales and cash flow, whereas the blades, the replacement blades, drive that attachment rate and it drives profitability. So from an internal perspective, each department needs to know how they play into these 3 strategic objectives. And outwardly, as a business, we need to know how we help do this for our customers as well, too.
Right. Well, I love how you talk about the top line sales as well as profitability, because some people think you just increase sales, you're going to increase your profit. And that often is not the case. And some people might be surprised, like, wait, well, I'm bringing in more money. Why do I not have more money in the bank? So it's good to really discuss both of those, because I have had conversations with people to explain why just more money doesn't mean more profit. Yeah. So it's good that that's one of the things you're discussing. Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I used to years ago sell toothpaste. I used to sell toothpaste, mouthwash, toothbrushes, dental floss. What else? I worked for a company that sold Aquafresh toothpaste, then later on Listerine. So a grocery store, many people don't know this, will typically lose money or have very low margin on toothpaste. It's called a loss leader. Product lines in a grocery store that have high penetration. What that means is almost every person uses it. So toothpaste, believe it or not, does not have 100% penetration, nor does toilet paper. Go figure that one out. But those are 2 items in a grocery store that run on very low margin, maybe losing money. The purpose of toothpaste and things like toilet paper, things everybody needs, is to drive a low price and push people into that store. Now, if you see an end cap on the end of the aisle, toothpaste tied into toothbrushes, tied into dental floss, tied into mouthwash, there's a method to their madness, because a retailer will make more money on the toothbrushes, dental floss, the mouthwash, and that's called margin blending. So it allows that retailer to drive people in that store with that loss leader of toothpaste, but it also helps them increase their margin through the toothbrushes, through the dental floss. So a retailer knows we can't just sell toothpaste or we could be out of business. because they're either losing money or making very little margin on that. So they understand, yes, we want to sell a lot of toothpaste, but we also understand we're not making a lot of money on it. We've got to sell other things as well too. So very, very solid point. Just because you have great sales does not mean you're putting all that in your pockets. You have to be very careful about that. Your margins are too tight, you could be in trouble. So that's another thing. The strategic objectives I talked about, it's not only are the people aligned to those, but it's as the business owner or the corporate leadership, you've got to define what's my top line sales goals, what's my cash flow needs, what's my future growth plan, and what margin do I need to run on to be successful, and how am I going to grow my business this year? So strategic objectives is an internal look, the strategy that you set at the beginning of the year, but it's also something we work towards collectively as an organization, not just sales, not just marketing, but everybody.
Right. Well, and I think too, another great example, years ago, like my first quote unquote real job I ever did was retail. I was there for 10 years and actually it ended up being a manager at one point as well. But I remember someone saying, oh, well, they really make a ton of money on these clothes then because they're making money even when they're selling them on clearance and they're discounting it so much. And it was actually at that point, it's like, well, no, they probably are actually losing a significant amount of money at that point, but they'd already invested in the inventory, the money's out and it's, out of season, new things are coming in. They need to at least bring in some type of cash for it. So again, you could have the sales, but you could have lost money on that sale because you paid more for the product in the long run than what you sold it for. But again, hopefully by doing that too, someone's going to buy something that's regular price, as well, and things like that too.
A lot of people have a beef with retailers. They think they're robbing you, or pharmaceutical companies. Drugs are too high. And I'm not here to debate that in depth, but for a drug, in defense for pharmaceutical companies, a drug takes a lot of R&D and money to fund that creation of that drug. It doesn't just happen. You have scientists, working with molecules or whatever they work with to try to find a cure for a disease state. That process takes a long time. Then as that drug's evolving, even before getting FDA approval, the organization has to build a sales force in case the FDA clears their product. Sometimes they invest in a sales force, they invest in all this marketing collateral, and they're ready to go. But the FDA either kiboshes the drug or puts them into a setback mode. Now they've got all that investment he put in the sales force has to be pulled out now. So the years to get a drug okayed and go through the R&D process is a lot of time invested. A lot of people don't understand that. They think they're gouging everybody. I'm not here. Some may be, I don't know, but there's another consideration to take place, all the R&D involved. And that's same with the new product you're launching at retail. There's a lot of R&D, maybe research, investment into that product on the upfront that people don't realize about. And that affects, things on that back end as well too. So, in this crazy day and age, again, margin, it's getting tougher to make that margin. So not having a strong margin objective and how to get there, could be a killer in an organization. Going back into, I talk vision, mission, values, and making sure every department's aligned to that and the importance of it. There's a morale factor involved as well, and a profitability factor involved. And what I mean by that is this. If I'm in a department, I don't feel ownership in what we're doing. Sales is irritating me, marketing's bothering me, we're overworked, why am I doing what I'm doing? We're just out here in another offshoot department, we don't feel ownership in what's being done, why we're doing what we're doing. We understand what we're doing every day, don't get me wrong, but how what we're doing feeds into the big picture. If there's poor morale because of lack of alignment, lack of communication, lack of teamwork, you could have unhappy employees. Hence, you have turnover. If you encompass all the factors that may take place in the loss of a good employee or good hire, it could be anywhere from a range of 5% of base salary to 15% base salary in loss per employee. So imagine you have a turnover of 20%, 20%, you know, that cost is, let's say 7%, you know, the 7% range. That's a huge hit to the bottom line. So alignment, communication, teamwork is imperative for a happy organization and productive employees, because you'll minimize turnover, things that can affect your bottom line and your top line as well too. And there you go again, tie that back to the attitudes of the Southwest employees. I don't know what their turnover is, but I'm sure it's fairly low. That helps align to profitability of their business as well too. If you think about their go-to-market strategy, you know, they have one jet, one type of jet, I should say, that they use. That plays in a profitability. They don't have, if a jet breaks down, they can easily come in. They have the materials, the supplies to either fix that jet right away, or they have a plan of action to get another jet in place. When you have 15 different jet types that you have to carry supplies for, that you have to, you know, and you're going to all these different locations, and there's a breakdown in a few jets over a week, then that could be devastating to bottom line, because now you're shut down. Now you're waiting for parts. Now, you know, consumers are getting angry. Part of Southwest's business model is to simplify it. One jet, minimal select amount of terminals and cities we fly into. And that will, that ties that profitability, because you have less downtime, you have more efficient flights, you know, and that is part of their vision, mission statement, and alignment to strategic objectives. So there's a method of the madness of using one size or type of jet, whatever you want to call that.
Right. So that all just leads to a business really needs to be able to look at everything that they're doing and determine if what they're doing is helping to drive the sales. Is it helping profitability? Is it helping, you know, their growth? And less is sometimes better than more, but it really depends on your specific situation.
That's exactly right. And I'll even tell people in business development roles, not all customers are created equal. I always say, from my perspective, I want to be viewed as a consultant with my customers versus a vendor. There's a big distinction there. Consultant means my customers view me as a trusted solution provider. They value me for what I bring to the table. So when you're viewed as a consultant, you're viewed as a solution provider. You're viewed as selling solutions rather than a commodity. When you're viewed as selling solutions rather than a commodity, price becomes less of a factor, and you can in turn run a more profitable business. My clients who view me as a consultant don't, I mean, I'm not saying price goes away, you know, as a whole, but they view me more as, they don't beat me up on price as much, because they know I bring value. Whereas there's some customers of mine view me as a vendor. What's your price? You know, you're selling widgets. You know, we're going with the lowest competitor. That's not where I want to be, because that's not going to help me grow my business in the long term. And that is not I'm not going to be as profitable. Not saying I'll say no and turn them away. I want to grab that customer who treats me like a vendor, but I will go drive tooth and nail to change that, change the way they're viewing me. So then I grow that and have them view me as a consultant. And that helps me understand where I'm going to focus my time and efforts. If I'm viewed as a consultant getting beat up on price all the time, I don't want to spend time there. It's not a profitable business venture for me. And it also ties into how I sell my capabilities. I do a lot of assessments. DISC is one. I'm not sure if everyone knows what DISC is. DISC is a behavioral assessment, very much like Myers-Briggs. When I first started my business, I was selling, I do DISC, I do DISC, I do DISC. Well, so does about 1,000 other vendors out there. So what I accidentally was doing, unbeknownst to me, was commoditizing myself against all the other vendors who do DISC. It suddenly dawned on me that I don't do DISC. I help my companies grow their business. I help my customers accomplish their goals, whether it's being more effective with their customers, consultative selling, leadership effectiveness, team building, overcoming adversity. DISC just happens to be a tool I use to help my customers do that. So I've had this uncouple several relationships where my customers still viewed me as the disc guy. And when you're the disc guy, you're commoditized because there's a lot of people who do disc. I use disc as something broader, and that's what I try to sell. So in my business too, I'm always battling being viewed consultatively, because when I'm viewed consultatively, it's a better relationship with my customer that we both can grow exponentially, but it's also more of a profitable business to me as well too. So long story short, I guess my point is not all customers are created equal for business owners. Some are profitable, some are not. I learned this business from my dad many years ago. We owned a produce market, and one of his loss leader items was eggs, bananas, because a lot of people would come in. So he lowballed those. And he used to get mad at the customers who would come in only for eggs or bananas, because he's like, they're price gouging me, which is true to some extent. But he wanted to bring in shoppers who were not only going to buy the eggs, but they were going to buy the peaches, the nuts, the meats and cheeses, and those other things that drove more margins. So I learned back then that not all customers are created equal. So that's same for any business. Look where you're getting your business from, and cultivate that consultative relationship, but also be cautious of who is willing to be cultivated and create that win-win relationship versus those who are going to always treat you like a vendor. That was long-winded. I hope that all made sense.
So when we have this, the align, communicate, teamwork, how is that going to help a company during times like now, right? We're dealing with adversity or difficulties, uncertainty, that this is great for, when things are running smoothly, but how is someone going to do this now with everything that's going on?
Yeah. I mean, if we are not running on all cylinders, it's going to be even more intense. Now, we may not survive these crazy times if we have high turnover, if we're not all running on the same page, if we can't react or respond to our customers' needs. So the ability, I always thought the foundation of vision, mission, values, clearly understanding strategic objectives and how we align as an organization to those things, I always thought was important. That's a foundation for success. If you don't have it, you're in trouble. But you're really in trouble now because we're in these crazy times. I'll give you kind of a simplistic thing just to show how important it is during really intense times. It's a story, Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if you know this or your listeners know this, but obviously everyone knows what the Civil War was, the North versus the South. And Abraham Lincoln went through, I want to say, 5 generals before he found his key general, General Grant. And all these generals weren't really following, his orders or what he was trying to accomplish until he found General Grant. And one general in specific, I think it was the Union general. They won a battle and they chased the Confederate soldiers down into Virginia, where it was split north and south. And Lincoln was like, why didn't you pursue? Why didn't you keep going after them? And the general said, we pushed them in their own back down south. And Lincoln said, that's not the point. We are trying to save the Union. It's not, it's all ours. So it was I think it's a great metaphor to really realize the vision statement for Lincoln was save the Union. These generals were maybe to win the battle or push them in their territory. There was a massive disconnect. And this was life or death. This was the future of the United States of America. So I'm just making a statement, just a simplistic thing revolving around history, where there was a disconnect, I think you could say, with the vision of Abraham Lincoln and his actual generals who were fighting. It wasn't until Ulysses S. Grant became the general that they were in sync about. This isn't about winning a battle or pushing them south. This is about saving the United States of America. We got to get on board here. So that is kind of an example, simplistic example, but a real world example about if we're not aligned with our vision, mission, values, our teams aren't functioning, our leadership and teams don't get it, we're not going to succeed. This is an extreme situation. Losing the United States of America, it's the same for business today, that we may lose our business if we are not functioning all cylinders. We may not survive, let alone thrive, if we are not in alignment. So I think companies that do not have this foundation are very vulnerable now and as we go on as well, down the pike as well too. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So yeah, it's been a very interesting topic, talking about, having this alignment and being able to communicate well to the whole team, and everyone is part of that team, making sure everyone feels, that they're interconnected and make a difference, So thank you for sharing this topic. I know we're running short on time, so I would love to ask you if you have an offer that you would like to share to our listeners.
Yeah, one of my books, one of my 2 books, as you mentioned earlier, is called In Defense of Adversity, Turning Your Toughest Challenges into Your Greatest Success. And I'm quite proud of that book. It's a fantastic book. It's not fluff. We are going through adversity now, and we will continue to do so, as I mentioned. The book is not fluff. It's not a touchy-feely book. It's based off of facts. I interviewed over 60 highly successful leaders on how they viewed, overcame, and what they learned through adversity. I talk about how the brain functions under stress, and through that knowledge, it can help us better be successful. And then I link up the DISC survey that I mentioned earlier to help people understand their specific style and how how they can be more successful in adverse times. And then I give hints and tips throughout the book. So I think it's a fantastic book. It's a relevant book. So with that said, anyone who wants a free e-version of that book, and it also includes a free DISC survey, feel free to reach out to me afterwards, and I'll gladly email you a copy, e-version of that book. And they can find me, my contact, you visit my website. I have a YouTube site, and they can find me give me a call, 813-777-9414, or feel free to email me. It's very simple, steve@gavatorta.com. That's my email, and that's GAVATORTA.com. If you have any questions about what we talked about today and/or would like to receive an e-version of that book, I'd be happy to forward you one.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for being a guest on my show again. I really appreciate your taking the time out to do so.
As you can tell, I like this topic. I probably blab too much, but I get passionate about it because it's just so important. For me as a business owner, but for my customers, for anybody, I just find it so important now, and it could be the difference between not just surviving, but actually thriving in this chaos.
Right. Well, thanks again. It was interesting. And I do hope that the listener tuning in, I hope you enjoyed this topic as well, and that it answered some of your questions about aligning, communicating, and having wonderful teamwork. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Steve at the email that he shared or the phone number, or you can also give us a message through our email at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topics: the new chameleons, unlock marketing's old cages to profit from disruption. And please remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. You can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.